I have
Greetings
the
to
copy. Whenever
everyone.
you're ready, let me know. I'll keep
Greeting,
it on ready on my PP on my system.
greetings to everyone world over. It's a green morning, green afternoon, and green evening. All our brothers and sisters across the globe, wherever you are, hope you're taking care of your health, your wellness post pandemic. You're thinking positive, talking positive, walking positive, and feeling positive because that has to come. That is something very, very important. Let's move on with yet another powerful evening as a part of 75 years celebrations, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, Friday, 12th of August, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, across the globe, I wish to share, it's a proud privilege. Today, we have got Professor Vijay Mahajan, all the way from the University of Texas at Austin in the United States. We have got Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi. He is joining us all the way from Uzbekistan, from the Entrepreneurship Development Center that is in Central Asia. Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan, our advisor based out of Texas, Lamar University, United States, and Dr. Abhay Sinha, Director General, Services Exports Promotion Council, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me set the context because every day we get lots of new people who join for the program. Today is a Gayatri Jayanti as well. I will not get into the details. Try and find out yourself when you think about Brahma, when you think about Vishnu and Mahesh, Gayatri ji and their Jayanti, how she is important to all of us in this universe. Today is also Vishwa Sanskrit Divas. Now, this started way back in 1969, and there's a lot being done. And yesterday itself, one of the Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, one of the dignitary distinguished, chair in India with the Ministry of Education. I interacted with him last night and this morning, who is doing a great, great service to the nation from the Sanskrit. Thereafter, they have gone to Bharatiya Bhashaएं जो हैं उनको भी लेकर चल रहे हैं. So आज today we celebrate Sanskrit Divas as well. And ladies and gentlemen, the world is today and tomorrow belongs to the youth. Today is also United Nations International Youth Day. To achieve these Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 2030, what we talk about, no one is left behind is the motto and the slogan, International Youth Day. Hearty welcome to all the youth on this particular program. This special series is a part of 75-year celebration Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. We started on 8th of August 2022 with the vision of Padma Bhushan, Professor Jagdish N. Sheth. And thereafter, on the 8th of August, we had Professor S.S. Patnaik, Madam Monica Bahal, and of course, Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji. On next day, we had on the 9th of August, Tuesday, Dr. Preeti Shroff Mehta. She joined us from Chicago, and Professor and Dean Micah India also, and Vasudev Kutumbakam, Internationalization of the Indian Education. Thereafter, we had gone Wednesday, 10th of August, Indian Teachers and Global Students and Entrepreneurs Perspective. What a mind-blowing presentation and what a marathon cerebrum shaking for all of us, where he gave, where from he started in a humble way and where has he taken the concept we had. And yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, Thursday, 11th of August, we had Dr. B.N. Setna, the president, who joined us all the way from Georgia, and that is the United States. It's a pleasure addressing the teacher shortage, the potential role of Indian teachers as a force in the world. We are moving in the journey. International Chamber for Service Industry. Our chamber is dedicated and we are a link between India, our non-resident Indians, brothers and sisters across the globe, and of course the corporate and the government interface for the policy. Partnership, market research, advocacy, innovative strategy, consultancy, and training from time to time. Pandemic, it has given a new somersault to the entire world. 1.6 billion children, when they were away from schools, colleges, universities, and institutions, it was altogether a different marathon for all of us. And everybody, teachers, we are proud of you. You are great warriors beside doctors, nurses, and paramedical people. You have done a wonderful job. Our chamber, in a humble way, during the entire pandemic, right starting early in the morning at 4 o'clock from India, when it was 9:30 or 10 o'clock in Australia and New Zealand, coming to Southeast Asia, going to Middle East, going to Central Asia, going to, all the way to Europe, and in the evening going to United States and Canada, Latin America, and then coming back to Bharat and South Asia. We have done, in a very humble way, 1,600 webinars with more than 2,500, I would call, the best brains of the world. We are indebted to them, the teachers, the youth, educators, counselors, mentors, coach from the world over. You all joined us. We remain indebted to all of you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, way back in 1993, when I left Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, and thereafter, we got 3 verticals: medical tourism, NRI tourism, and besides that, education tourism. What all is to be done into that? Our chamber brought in 1994 India's first finishing school for service industry for the youth, those are interested to get into vocationals. Besides that, the educators, teachers, and counselors, those are interested to be a part of the education ecosystem. Having moved from there, during the pandemic, everything from the brick and mortars, it has gone digital way. And now it is the inspirational lab. Your mental wellness, your physical wellness, your professional wellness, your social wellness, and your economic wellness, they are the areas which we are focusing on, along with the personal and the professional growth of educators and teachers. All the time, our chamber keeps doing a lot of mind-blowing exercises and research work. Why education is not relevant to our day-to-day life? From the time we get up in the morning until we go to sleep. Why not teachers? You think that you're the gardeners. Why not we should have education with the nature, water management, waste to resource management? When you talk about climate change and carbon neutral, why not we bring that as an academic part and research part and innovation part as an integral part of the education ecosystem, irrespective what standard where you are studying? Understanding cultural diversity, immersive learning experiences, all that we take on in our inspirational lab. There is a G20, we talk about E20, where the education, educators, environment, entertainment, energy, and of course, all 20 verticals are there. Thankful to the Honorable Prime Minister's vision during the thick of the pandemic. March 25th, we got into the pandemic and everything locked down. But on 29th of July, 2020, we got the new education policy. And if you recall, and if you look back, 1986 was the Kothari Commission, the first, the kind of a 1968, it had come, the first policy, 1986, second policy, minor changes in 1992. And after 34 years, we got the new education policy, 29th July, 2020. And it's very important. Policy is there, but now the implementation and thereafter the monitoring part is very important, because one of the prime commitment in this policy is 6% of the GDP to be spent on education. When we talk about GDP, the budget comes to our perspective. Honorable Finance Minister Shrimati Nirmala Sitharamanji on 1st of February 2022, there was a big kind of a push being given to education and skills along with the digital part. And that's what today Professor Vijay Mahajanji would also be talking about. We share how the education would look like in 2047. ICSI look forwards to the global confluence. We are working in that particular direction. World over, wherever our brothers and sisters have gone, and all the non-resident Indians and the PIOs, we are trying to reach out educators, visionaries, policymakers, influencers, those can directly or indirectly give us the vision how education to be empowered, because that is the base of the pyramid which have to take into consideration. We know world population is aging, many countries where there is people of the higher age bracket. India got to do the hand-holding with the skilled manpower and with educators. So let's focus on human services exports. In a humble way, we are finishing this particular series on 21st of August, and on 22nd of August onward, 10 days, we are having a wonderful program for the 8 beautiful states, Northeast India, complimentary program, preparing global teachers. Everything is coming on the mobile phone, on WhatsApp itself, and all the B.Ed students of the Northeast region, they would be the part of this particular journey with us. No money is being charged from anybody. As a corporate social responsibility, our chamber is taking everybody in a fold to give the capacity building, awareness, awakening, some kind of a jagrukta, because those children are wonderful. And what could be the strategy for services exports when you think about micro, small and medium enterprise, startup, entrepreneurship, but our focus is youth. Tomorrow you will be going to Canada. Today we are in United States. Tomorrow you'll be meeting the gentlemen, both the gentlemen who will be joining us tomorrow, Surya Vijay Shastri Kotamartiji. He is the head of the Financial Services Chartered Accountants Association in Canada, and Mr. Vikas Malhotra, who is a tourism analyst, who will be talking about the Canada perspective as far as tourism. Do join us tomorrow on 13th of August. 14th, we'll be meeting Dr. Ashok Saxena, once again from the United States, preparing teachers for pedagogical challenges of their STEM education. Although in the new education policy, from the STEM, we are moving to the STEAM because art is the integral. So non-resident Indian, our brothers and sisters, grand finale, we would be having with Professor Jagdish Sheth Saab on 15th of August, when 15 distinguished speakers from the world over would be joining for the celebration from 8 to 9 p.m. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So ladies and gentlemen, whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let's come together. Let's prepare Indian educators for the global journey. And I think it's possible. And we are going to share this morning, this afternoon, this evening with Professor Vijay Mahajanji, who is joining us all the way from the United States, University of Texas at Austin. He holds the John P. Harbin Sentinel Chair in Business at the University of Texas at Austin. He has received numerous Lifetime Achievement Awards, including the American Marketing Association, Charles, the College Pauline Award for the Visionary Leadership in Scientific Marketing. The American Marketing Association also instituted the Vijay Mahajan Award in 2000 for career contribution to marketing strategy. In 2006, he received the Distinguished Alumnus Award from the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, for his contribution to management research. He served as the Dean of the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad from 2002 to 2004. He is the author, editor of the 10 books, including his valuable book, Africa Rising. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the first book when I read in detail, and I watched more than 11, 12 YouTube videos. I was so mesmerized. I wanted to meet this gentleman at the earliest, because his cerebrum, particularly for the Africa, what he has given over there, the vision, it's mind-blowing. We all should know and we all should go through. It was published in 2009. His last book on the market opportunities in developing countries and 86% solutions received the 2007 Book of the Year Award from the American Marketing Association. He's one of the world's most widely cited researchers in business and economics, and has been invited by more than 100 universities and research institutions worldwide for the research presentations. He edited the Journal of Marketing Research and has consulted with the Fortune 500 companies and delivered executive development programs worldwide. He received his BTech in Chemical Engineering from IIT Kanpur and his Master's in Chemical Engineering and PhD in Management from Universities of Texas and Austin. Hearty welcome to Professor Vijay Mahajan. Today, we would be dedicating a time on the digital leapfrogs. It's a beautiful book. I can hold it for you. You all can see it. And I have gone through between the lines, right from rise of the digital leapfrog, watching cricket, while waiting for the train, and that is of the soldiers. So I come from the green uniform. It was very fascinating when I read about that. And soldiers were going to Jammu and Kashmir, the hometown of Professor Vijay Mahajanji. A mobile phone, a data connection, and the world navigating the sanctuaries. Thereafter, he talks about leapfrogs in the consumer markets, beyond bricks and mortars, leapfrogs in e-commerce and digital payment, from Bollywood to Texas. That's very interesting when he talks about Ranveer Singh, and he talks about Gully Boys, and he talks about Parallel, another movie in 2002, leapfrogs in the media and entertainment industry. Digital farming, the growth 21st century leapfrog, that's another one. So certainly we are going to have a wonderful evening, digital leapfrogs, when we get the insight from the author. Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji, advisor, India, Uzbekistan Entrepreneurship Development Center, Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Hearty welcome. He's a great visionary, and his journey goes back to EDII, that is the Entrepreneurship Development Indian Institute based out of Ahmedabad. And thereafter, a lot of projects he has done. And at present, he has got Center for Entrepreneurship Development, where the new entrepreneurship program, capacity building program, education, business development, all that is coming up in Tashkent, in the Central Asia. And they're also focusing on social entrepreneurship. Now, ladies and gentlemen, his experience goes to 31 years in the corporate and the academic field. Global exposure, traveled more than 30 countries. Area of interest, he is deeply interested about entrepreneurship, international business, micro, small, and medium enterprise. He has taught more than 10,000 management students at graduate and, of course, the postgraduate level. He has written 23 international research papers published in Oxford and Cambridge University, to name some. He has authored 4 books on entrepreneurship. Last book published in August 2021 on Rahim Ke 50 Dohe, or 50 lessons for entrepreneurs. And thousands of copies of that was sold. Now, the 5th book under draft, again connecting Indian ancient wisdom with the modern entrepreneurship, Vidur Niti, Lesson from the Entrepreneurs, will be internationally released by the German publishers in 2022. We'll get the insight. Dr. Abhay Sinha, Director General, Services Export Promotion Council. He's waiting at the airport to take his flight because it has got a little delayed. He would be joining in between with us. He has over 22 years of experience in the various organizations under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Now, Services Export Promotion Council is a very important hub, and the Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry has given a target of $1 trillion export, which is to be done exclusively for the services sector. And the Promotion Council is working in the direction, and some analysis which are coming, that they're going to achieve their target 3 years before the set date and the year which they have got. So we would hear him. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Rise to the digital leapfrogs. Meet the global educators and skill leaders, Friday, 12th of August, 2022. And join me in extending a very warm welcome to our distinguished guests, those are joining us. And I also extend a very warm welcome to Professor Jagdish N. Sheth, sir. He always gives a pleasant surprise to us, and that is his dedication and devotion. I do not know, sir, how to put it across, your devotion, your dedication, and all the time giving encouragement that we should do something, whatsoever good can be done from India. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the program, we would request Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan, who is our advisor of the chamber, to propose vote of thanks. Now, the legend of our entire program, Professor Jagdish Sheth, sir, has come. So I would request you, sir, you set the context and then we move on in the journey. Professor Jagdish Sheth, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharma. First of all, I want to welcome the panel that you have. It's absolutely incredible talent, and especially my good friend Vijay Mahajan, who I know very well from his doctoral student days And he always writes very thoughtful books. And I think the latest one is very inspirational, as you mentioned. So Vijay, thank you again for accepting this one. I don't know the other panel members as well, but they're all very qualified. And again, thank all of you for your contribution toward this series. There is not much time left. We have made too long an introduction. So let's get going with however you would like to do. I just wanted to welcome everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining. May I request Professor Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji, let's set the context from your side. And by the time, because Abhay is sitting at the airport, if he joins us because his flight has got delayed, and thereafter we will have the star of the evening, Professor Vijay Mahajan sir, if Professor Vijay Mahajan sir permits us accordingly. Professor Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji.
Welcome to all the dignitaries. It is a pleasure always to be part of this journey and to be associated with some of the best brains what Indians have given to the world. And I think it is knowledge sharing which makes us so powerful across the globe. So I think that's the best thing which Indians can do with each other. And this platform is one of the best I have ever seen, because we are part of now many social platforms, but the amount of knowledge which we get from this platform is amazing. And thanks to our Major Sir, I always call him Major General because his work is like Major General, if not Lieutenant General. So my pleasure to always to be connected with him. And when we talk about the educators and the youth here, I think the best part which we have seen in this part of Central Asia, because not much information is there in India or any part of the world about Central Asia. Still, when we see the journey, we started connecting India with Central Asia and especially Uzbekistan with the Babur. Babur was part of Uzbekistan, and he took his birthplace is Andijan. It's a very now promising province in Uzbekistan. And many things which we have taken from this part of Central Asia to Indian lifestyle which we live. There are more than 4,000 words which we use from Uzbekistan, which are common between Uzbek language and Hindi language, and also now Urdu language also, because it's a mix of Persian. Many, I would say, food items which we consume, like samsa. Here it is called samsa. It is called samosa in India. Pulao, here they call it palau. So a lot of things are common in our daily, I would say, lifestyle in India. And here, when we talk about Indian impact, of course, right from the legacy of the Mughals, they also believe that they have been impacted by Hollywood. And of course, right from Raj Kapoor to now Shah Rukh Khan, everybody is like a household name. Still, you will find a lot of movies coming every day, even now, on the TV channel of Hindi cinema, dubbed in Uzbek. And there is a film festival every September here. So next month we are going to have an Indian Film Festival here also, or October, early October. So there is almost a connect. And now the best part after, I would not say COVID, but the doctors have been a very, very respected community, which had created a great impact like IT did in USA at one point of time. And the medicine, the pharma, and the doctors have created great impact in this country and also the Central Asia. And now we have already seen the medical tourism increasing. So when we see the connection between the two countries, it is amazing. And we get a lot of respect as an Indian when we go on the street, we go for shopping or restaurant. There is a lot of respect for Indians, and that is amazing because this is earned by all the Indians who have been here and there for the last 30, 40 years. Now, when we come to today's time and what are the opportunities here and how the educator and the youth should collaborate in this part of Central Asia, at least, is that after USSR, many Indians who were studying here at that point of time, about 30 years back in 1991, most of the students became businessmen. So because they saw that, okay, I have learned the language Russian or Uzbek at that point of time, and also they knew the English or local language of our country. So many Indians in about 30 years back started doing business when they were students, taking goods from India and to bringing it to Uzbekistan and other parts of Central Asia. And now those businessmen has grown like anything, and now the second generation, third generation are here settled in Uzbekistan. And so that is the impact which we have brought as a educator here, and the youth at that time also became a part of this journey. Second was the current scenario. When we talk about the current scenario, there is lot of I would say invitation going to Indian faculty members across the globe to come and teach various engineering verticals, management, English communication, because there is very much focus. They have realized that without English, you cannot survive in today's world. So lot of streets you will find that English language coaching classes are there, which we used to have one point of time in India also. So a lot of faculties from India is coming now, and they are actually contributing to the education. If I talk about only Tashkent, there are 10 to 11 universities from UK, India, and Turkey, which run courses of UG and PG only in English. So that is the impact which is bringing by the educators, and it's a very good respect which we have when they come to an Indian faculty classroom. The entire behavior is different vis-a-vis to other countries of or the local faculty members. I must share this with you. So we have got a lot of respect. And the new thing which is coming is the technology, IT, because IT is, they are still in 3G mode. So we are now changing our mode to 5G in October onwards, I was hearing. So they want that IT should also be a part of this country. And you will be very happy to note that another advisor like me is Mr. Parthasarathy from Chennai. He has been appointed as advisor of IT Park. So he has already created 2 IT parks, one in Tashkent and one in Zizak. And he was appointed by the president of this country. So he is a special invitee, and we really work very closely in different projects on IT with the students, with the business people. So this is a great journey between the educators and the students here. And lastly, I would like to share one more important thing, that now this country is opening for business, especially after COVID. And COVID has changed everything. Now the technology has become a part of our system, I would say, like the platform like we are using now. And a lot of online classes from India, from various parts of the country, is now being taken into the Uzbek institutes, both the government and the private sector universities. So that is another journey where they are trying to absorb all type of knowledge which is available through IT platforms. And this has made a great impact in the learning process of the students. And now they are more exposed to international learning while sitting here in Tashkent or any part of the Uzbekistan or Central Asia. And I think some good thing has also come out of COVID. And lastly, another challenging thing, which is because it's a double landlocked country, the logistics is a big problem. So now with the problem with the Pakistan and Afghanistan, so Uzbekistan is next to the Afghanistan border. So there is a logistic problem. So products are not traveling very fast when we talk about the export and import. But services is a very, very important sector which can be developed at a very, very, I would say, great pace in this part of Central Asia. And I would be very happy that we are now connecting this platform with some of the universities here. And I will be sharing some information in coming weeks with Sharma ji to share how we can be part of this part of Central Asia to this platform. I think that will be a great journey which we can now look forward to. So these are some of my views, and I want to invite everyone who is listening me here on this platform and maybe later in the recording part to visit at least once to this part of the world. It is very beautiful, pollution free, people are very good. There is no cheating here. It is almost 0% crime here. So that's a wonderful thing which we have to understand. Of course, information is less, language is little difficult. And of course, if you are a vegetarian, it will be little problem. So you have to pack your food from your own house to visit. So once again, I welcome everybody to Uzbekistan and Central Asia, and thank you for listening. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Sanjay Chaturvedi ji. It's always you add so much of value, and samosa ka samsa, pulao ka palav, and then Bollywood, and then Raj Kapoor, then Shah Rukh Khan, then next month or maybe in month of October, Film Festival, IT, Technology, Parsa Sarthi ji, Chennai, 2 IT parks, and getting connected with the universities in future. Amazing, amazing. It's always a treat and a pleasure to have you with us on platform. While thanking Professor Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji, let me extend a very warm welcome to Professor Vijay Mahajan ji, who is the eminent educationist. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see the book right in my hand, Digital Leapfrogs. Wonderful book. I have read between the lines. Amazing. You get a feeling that you're going through something, what is happening to you. It's happening in your life. And the best part is he started with the soldiers from the New Delhi railway station. Those are going to Jammu and Kashmir, and they are enjoying the cricket match. And then thereafter, and so as you will move ahead, you will have the gully boys also. You will have toilet ek prem katha also. You will have the Honorable Prime Minister's vision, how the toilets to be built up in India. Oh my God, it's an amazing. And then in between, he has also tried to bring Kenya perspective from Africa. You can see in the boxes, and there is a square which are being drawn where he has given the perspective of Kenya, Nairobi, and he took a journey over there. He dedicated, I think, 2017 in Kenya and 2018 in India, and thereafter 2019 he started rolling on, and then of course the pandemic had come, and 3 years, how basically, so more than 4 years being dedicated, and how Digital Leapfrogs takes on. He's talking about middle class also. He's talking about aspiration of, somewhere he has talked about A, B, C, D, E categories also. Let him take on the journey. We all should enjoy a very stimulating part of what is coming through now. So ladies and gentlemen, right from the bottom of the heart, and with lots of pleasure, treasure, we extend a very warm welcome to Professor Vijay Mahajan ji, the eminent personality all the way from United States. Hearty welcome to you, Professor Saab.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, Vivek, you have my presentation?
Yes, I'll put it up in a minute.
So we have what, about 30 minutes or 35 minutes? How much time do we have?
Sir, evening is yours. Evening is yours. We have absolutely, because Professor Jagdish Sheth sir is vegetarian and I'm a teetotaler. So there is no problem. We can take as much time as you require. And Professor Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji has got a time difference, so he's going behind. So there is no problem. And
No,
it's a
thank
day,
you.
it's a daytime for you. We want to do justice with the subject and with the book.
No, thank you so much. First, the Jack, thank you so much for putting me in touch with Major Sahab. I have known Jack Sheth, like he mentioned, since I was a PhD student many, many years ago. And at that time, there were probably only 2 or 3 Indians in marketing. And we were also proud that we were following Jack because he had made a fantastic name for himself. And he opened the doors for many of us, including me. So Jack, this presentation is dedicated to you. Major Saab, I'm sorry that you had such a tough time in finding about me in Jammu. So my apologies. We Mahajan Baniyas are very well known in Jammu, so you obviously know the wrong people there. No, thank you so much. And I especially enjoyed the presentation on Tajikistan, the Uzbekistan. I did not know all this. I have read the story about Babur and how he came. I have also read the Babur Nama and what was happening there. But it was such a pleasure to actually meet you and get to know what's going on. And finally, Vivek, thank you so much for your patience with me. And I know that you met me a couple of days ago, so we went over this presentation. So thank you so much for helping me. God bless you. So as you can see, my presentation is on the digital leapfrogs, how technology is reshaping consumer markets in India. The fact that 4 of us are sitting in 5, 6 different locations and talking to each other itself is an example of a digital leapfrog. We would have never thought of this before the pandemic. The fact that you have a YouTube channel and many of your the viewers would be watching this, that itself is a digital leapfrog. Who would have thought that we'll be able to connect your evening, my morning, and then we'll be all talking about this area. And like you mentioned, this project actually has been going up for many years, and I'll give you an example very soon. And then pandemic actually really shaped this entire book. So I had to revise this whole book during the pandemic time. So let me start with this. Let's go to the next slide. So my journey started here, Indian School of Business in Hyderabad, and notice that subtitle there, Navigating Across Centuries. So many years ago, I would say late 90s, there were a group of people here who thought of starting a new business school in India. Many people from Silicon Valley, the McKinsey, the academia, so on and so forth. And so they had a vision. Vision was to create a global business school. Keep the word global in mind. Global business school, school that could compete with the best in the United States. They had a fantastic architect to design this building. It's a pleasure really to actually go and see this campus, how much hard work has been put in. It's a pleasure to see the technology that they have and the classrooms. Everything looks great. There was when I went there as a dean in 2002, 2001, Wi-Fi was available. Look at the beautiful lawns that they have. It was an amazing place. So here is my story. Story is that I landed up there because they were looking for an old man to actually become the dean, and being the 3rd or the 4th Indian in marketing. So probably Jag was not ready to go. So I think they got hold of me. And so my university was very supportive. They gave me permission and I went there. And so I got going. You know, what should I do? Focus on the programs, focus on recruiting, focus on the executive education, go and meet all the people in Mumbai, recruiters in Mumbai. And I went to the different countries to market our executive education program. So part of my deal was that my family could come and visit me twice a year, although I was shuttling back and forth. So this is the story that actually really changed my entire life, that how I got into these books. There were a couple of other stories before that, but this really hit it. So one of the days I came back home and we were having dinner and my daughter asked me a question. She's one of those save the world type, save the planet type lady. And she asked me a question. He said, Dad, this is a beautiful place. I'm so glad that you're here. You're enjoying it. And my son was also there. And it's really interesting what are the different things they were looking on this campus. So she says that I see a lot of these ladies and men actually working on the yard here. There's a lady who works in front of our house. And so I have a question for you. And the question that I have is that if they have to go to the bathroom, where do they go? No, I thought this was the most stupid question that she was asking. I mean, she was born in Philadelphia when I was teaching at the Wharton School. She went to all the private schools. the very smart lady, except when she became 16, she had gone to Central America through an NGO to build toilets and the brick ovens. So she had that mind. So I tell everybody that my mother is back. So I said, what kind of stupid question are you? This whole building is empty. There are only 120 students, hardly 20 or 30 faculty members. We don't have too much staff. I mean, there are bathrooms all over this building. So she said, no, I'm curious. So, God, I felt so terrible that why my daughter is asking me this question. Here I've been called to develop a global business school, and she's asking me, where do these people go for the toilets? And you can get the answer. So I went to my staff, my team the next day. I said, where do these people go to the bathroom? And obviously they were not using our facilities. These people were actually literally finding some spot on this beautiful lawn that you see if they have to go to the bathroom. I could not believe that, because in a few weeks I was going to receive Michael Dell also there, who had joined our board. And I said, how can I create a global business school when the people are using my lawn as a bathroom? Then I discovered even the drivers who were coming to drop the faculty, drop the people, recruiters, they were also not using the facility. And then I can't believe this. I have come all the way from Texas to develop this global business school, and all these people are using our lawn as a bathroom. Then other day, following week, she asked me another question. She said, Dad, when they have to eat their food, where do they go? And again, I said, my God, what kind of stupid question is there? I mean, there's so many empty apartments, so many empty places. They can go anywhere they like. And God behold, again, I found out that they were eating, having their lunch on the lawn. So I went to my team. I said, we cannot develop a global business school if we don't have the proper facilities for the people who are working for us. At that time, it turns out that we had a contractor, and they are the largest group. The people who are working on this, they were the largest group. And so you won't believe that. I just could not believe this. I said, I had come all the way from Texas to develop a global business school, and this is what is going on. So my first project, I asked my team, I said, how much money can I spend without going to the board? I did not want to tell the board. As a matter of fact, this is the first time after this book came out, I started talking about this story, that what is the first thing I had to do at the ISB. So you won't believe that I built toilets on this campus. So I asked my team, I said, get me an estimate. It should be below the money that I can spend on my own. And if you look at the bottom left corner, you see a road. So the bathroom is actually on that side. And I said, this bathroom has to be exactly the way our bathrooms are. So these people, when they come to visit this campus, they should come with pride that this is the place I want to work. They should come with aspirations, and maybe someday my children will go to this school. And then after that, the building that you see in the central, right behind that is our cafeteria. It's a world-class cafeteria, and it has been outsourced to one of the 5-star hotels. And so we built actually a dining hall for the people who are working in the yards back of that. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what started my story, and it blew my mind that what an idiot I had become, that why my daughter thought of this issue and I did not think of the issue. Fact of the matter is, for 21 years of my life, I grew up in India. And she, who was born in Philadelphia, went to all the best private schools, and she's asking me, where do the people go? Why did not I think about that? So what we had done was, we have brought a developed world solution to a developing country. And in that mindset, people had forgotten about the issue that where do these people go for the toilets? And so the next slide, please. Vivek. Yeah, so, and let me tell you why I felt so bad. This is where I grew up. That's my father that you see, and that's my nephew, my oldest brother's son. And my father used to have a shop, and we used to live on the top of the shop. And you see the sign there in Urdu, Nandaram Badrinath, cloth merchants, the Gandham Market, Jammu. So Gandham is wheat. No, this bazaar is called Kanak Mandi. This bazaar is the most important bazaar in Jammu, because all the lalas there who sell anything, they have their shops in this Kanak Mandi. So this is, I spent the first 13 years of my life on the top of this shop. This is where I grew up. We were 6 brothers, 4 sisters. My oldest brother was married. We had he had 2 children. So you can imagine how many people were actually living at the top of the shop, and we had only one toilet on the top floor, and it was an open toilet. This is where I grew up. for the first 14 years of my life. And they were the best years of my life. That's what bugged me. Bugged me there was that how can I forget where I come from? And I could not think about what was going on in ISB, and my daughter has to challenge me. So that started my journey. So I was convinced that I had forgotten where I come from, and I need to know more about where I came from. Then I also realized that this India cannot be alone. They got with so many other people who probably are very much like us, that they are simultaneously navigating the toilet problem. And at the same time, oh, I forgot to tell you, my favorite project at ISB was the library, because we realized very soon that we cannot compete with the libraries of the business school in the United States. Neither we have the space, nor we have the money, and we'll be actually shipping most of those stuff actually from the United States or from the Europe. And so our entire focus was actually to develop a digital library. As a matter of fact, I suggested to my team that many of the old books, classic books like Peter Drucker's and others, that simply are not available anymore. They're out of print. So why don't we get the permission from those foundations or the publishers and digitize those? And interesting enough, at that time, Raj Reddy was actually doing a project from Carnegie Mellon, was doing a project where he was trying to digitize the old scriptures, Indian scriptures and the Chinese scriptures. And by accident, he happened to be on the campus. So I got hold of him. I said, this is what we have. He says, I'll help you to digitize. Then I left after that 2 years. But our plan was that we will actually digitize the old books also, and we'll make those the books available, digital books available, not only to everybody in India, but to everybody across the world. So anybody from the developing countries who wanted access to the digital classic books in management, that we will make them available. So it was kind of very interesting. I'll have one meeting on the digital library, and then I have a second meeting, how to build a toilet. So I was simultaneously navigating the digital technology and the toilets. So that became the challenge for me. So next slide, please. So that led me to write these 4 books. So the first book was that how many people are like us Indians, okay, who are simultaneously navigating these through issues. They have mobile phones, but they don't have the toilets. There gotta be many people here on this planet. So I came back home, I did some research, looked at the definition that developed versus the developing countries. And to a great shock to me, that 86% of the people on this planet, they live in the countries like India, where the GDP per capita is less than $10,000. So that led me to actually really put my thoughts together. And I have to really thank my daughter for this, for pushing me hard, that you are not the same person that you used to be. And this led me to actually the travel. I used to do a lot of consulting out in South America, so I was very much aware of that. Also in Asia, some of the South Asian countries. And so this was the first book. It's called 86% Solution, precisely because of that. How do we actually, and then not only that, I also wanted to see that how do people like me will have to change their mindset when they go to the countries like India, whether they are building a school or they're trying to market a product. How do they have to change their mindset? How do they have to change their thinking? So I got lucky that this book, actually, I did not expect, but it got the Best Book Award from the American Marketing Association. But I won't tell you the rest of the story that led me to actually, there's a story behind each one of these books, Africa Rising, then after that, North Africa, and finally, I visited the countries with the largest rural population in Asia and Africa. As you'll see very soon, that you cannot have a discussion on the developing countries without having a discussion of the non-urban rural customers. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. Next slide, please. So here is the digital leapfrog, and in every book, actually, I had gone to something like 70 different developing countries so far to write those books in Asia, Africa, Central America. And so every place I was watching something about the technology, the telephones, like in Kenya, you probably have heard a lot of those stories there. And so finally, I decided to put all my thoughts together on this digital leapfrog. And Vivek, there is some kind of something there. I cannot see my slide.
Vivekji, could you kindly move your cursor, because people are unable to see the slide. Just move your cursor. Yes, now it's fine.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So what you're going to see there is that you're going to see three major takeaways in this book. First, I already mentioned that all these countries are navigating across centuries. By that means that they are moving into 21st century issues with the digital technologies. And at the same time, they're solving the problems that people in the Western countries had already solved in the 19th or 20th century, like, for example, the toilet. They also used to have the toilet problem here, by the way, in the United States. But finally, we solved that. The most important thing that you're going to see there is the democratization of the consumer markets. This is the first time, for the marketing point of view, was a very interesting insight for me, that how these consumer markets know accessibility, it has been totally democratized. And finally, thing that you're going to see there is that this is not limited only to the education. This is not limited to only retail. This is across the board. So India should be so proud that they had the young entrepreneurs who have taken this digital revolution and they have gone into the various sectors. So that's what I'm going to show you in the next 15, 20 minutes. Next slide, please. So here is the first, the very interesting the observation about India. Many years ago, C.K. Prahalad, very brilliant guy, he introduced the idea of the bottom of the pyramid, what you see on the left-hand side, A, B, C, D, E. So this A, B, C, D, almost all the countries, they have socioeconomic classification, generally about 5. In India, they also have. They used to have actually separate one for the rural areas, separate one for the urban areas. No, they have only one. All the companies have their own definitions. Most of my data comes from Unilever. They've been very kind to me. So classification that I'm going to show you actually has come from them and Nelson and so on, other folks. Amazing thing which is going on for India, there was always a fear that we're going to look like the middle pyramid. We're going to be rich people or poor people, and the middle class will disappear. And that's always, by the way, is the conversation of the politicians. The middle class is disappearing. Nothing is going on for the middle class. Nothing is going on for the middle class. They are the one who pay the most taxes. Interesting thing which is going on now for India is that India is looking like a diamond. And this has a major policy implications for the businesses, for the NGOs, for the government, that India is a diamond-shaped country now. And by the way, the Kenya where I went, they are also a diamond-shaped country. So many of these developing countries which have reasonably high growth rate, they are looking like the diamond shape. So C is the key. What is so unique about the C? I'm from the C family. As a matter of fact, the majority of us probably are from the middle class families. Why? Because the middle class family are the one who have aspirations. They want to give their children more than they had. My father had only high school. They came from Udhampur. We are not from Jammu. We are from Udhampur. My mother is from Udhampur. My mother had only 8th grade education. As a matter of fact, she was the most educated girl in our family. She was the only one who could read, write, read the Holy Scriptures and so on and so forth. So one thing they had was that my father had a shop, but my mother did not want any one of us to walk into that shop. She said, no, get education, including the daughters. So she lost on the first 2 children because it was joint family, but the rest of 8 of us, she grabbed us. Education, education, education. My father worked very hard, and I'm here only because of my mother. Okay, go, 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 go. So, and these aspirations are the one, ladies and gentlemen, which is really propagating this digital revolution in India. They want to do everything they can to give their children. If it's technology, if it's a computer, if it's a mobile phone, they will find a way to give them. An interesting thing that happens there is that when the C class had that aspiration, they pull D and E, because many of these C class, they also have a domestic help. So they are watching. Okay, they're also watching what the C class is doing. So good thing which is going on for India is really the C class, and the C class is the one that has made it possible for any technology to go all the way from A to E. For example, mobile phone. There's budget mobile phones, smartphones, which are available, and I understand the market is about 60 to 70% for these budget mobiles. These budget mobiles, and then of course, thanks to the people like Jio and so on and so forth, they have made it possible for the technology to filter all the way from A to E. That we all have mobile phones, and they are also watching the Google, they are watching the movies on Google. You have heard the stories of people sitting in the train stations and using Google Wi-Fi and getting reading for the schools and reading on the Google. They're taking reading from taking lessons from the Google. This is a major observation that you will see in the book. And then the major sub, and you mentioned that I have A, B, C, D group. There was the reason, and the data is given in the book. That data tells you India is diamond-shaped country. and so is Kenya. And this is big congratulations to India. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of this revolution is really across what they call breadth. In the book, you will see that I have looked at the several sectors. Education, of course, I came from the education, so education was very important to me. I wanted to see what was going in the education sector. Public services, I went there, that's because that's what the push of the government of India, when they had Aadhaar card and the payments to the farmers and so on and so forth. And so I spent quite a bit of time actually trying to understand the public services. In fact, I spent a whole one day sitting in the Aadhaar office, trying to understand what else is going on. Not only, I was also more interested in what people are doing with Aadhaar card. The Aadhaar card was not the only thing that was of interest to me. And so you'll find a discussion. And related to that, you'll find a discussion on the finance sector, which was a major push. And it became a major push during the COVID time. Then was agriculture, which I'll tell you in a moment, why agriculture was very of interest to me. And then obviously the healthcare, retail, e-commerce, and then media and entertainment. The media and entertainment, we all love Bollywood, Tollywood, all the wood that we have there. We all love that. We love cricket. So I spent quite a bit of time in spending some time with the Hotstar, Facebook, and Google to understand the media and entertainment. That's what you're going to find in the book. So when the Major Sahib, you were giving examples and showing the chapters, that's what it is. So these are the people I met. Next slide, please. Now here, what is so big deal about India? And this slide, this insight that I'm going to give you is also very important for the policymakers. And let's not kid ourselves who we are. So what you see in this slide there is that the line that you see, the line gives you the data on how the US we urbanized over time, how the US was also an agriculture country. And over the time we urbanized. Right now, we are 81% urbanized. We are not the highest. The highest is actually Brazil and some of the other Latin American countries, but they have their own problems because then they have the slums. Brazil, for example, has slums and all that. So they pushed everybody. Mexico has the largest the slum in the whole planet. The Bombay has also very large slum. Pakistan, Orange, whatever they call town, is a very large slum. That's not interesting. Interesting is where are developing countries? So what you noticed here is that there should be somewhere India, Vietnam, and Bangladesh. India, Vietnam, and Bangladesh, their urbanization, the urbanization is in 30s, 39, 37, 38%. That's what we used to be in this country back in 19th century. So India is where the United States used to be in the 19th century. Okay, China. You notice that China is where the United States used to be in 1930s. Okay, so they are more than 50% urbanized. It took United States to go where China is 80 years to get to the point where we are. I mean, I wonder how the Chinese are going to get it done in 10 years. How the Indians are going to get it done yet. The reason this chart is very important, and I'm not the specialist on urbanization, but typically what you see there is that if something happens with urbanization, infrastructure, job markets, the access to the products, access to education, access to the transportation. So this is a major issue. So either we say we're going to urbanize everybody, or we figure out, no, let the people stay where they are, and we have to figure out how do we create opportunities for them where they are. Okay, so many of the fact that we are navigating across centuries is because of this issue, the toilet issue. When you have more than 60, 65% population living in the rural areas, how are you going to convince them? How are you going to convince a farmer? And I have those stories also in the book. My previous book also, I had the Rise of Rural Consumers. It's just a simple behavior. My father grew up in Udhampur when the population used to be 5,000. They did not have a toilet home. He used to tell us the story how in the morning they used to go walk for a walk, and they were so happy sitting somewhere in open, and then come back home very happy and start their day. So that's how my father grew up in a very small town, Udhampur, which has become a very big town. So and by the way, a country like Ethiopia, many of the countries in Africa, especially Ethiopia is where when Abraham Lincoln was the president of this country. So when you go to Ethiopia, you'll see why they have the issue that they're dealing with. Okay, next slide, please. But here, one bullet is very important to us. There are about 3.4 billion rural consumers in the world. 3 billion live in Asia and Africa. That's not interesting. What is interesting there is 1/3 of the rural consumers in the developing countries are living in South Asia. 1 billion. And guess who's paying attention? None of the companies in India actually has been structured around South Asia except for Unilever. Unilever never changed their focus even after partition. So Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, they all report to Sanjeev Mehta in Bombay. So Sanjeev is wearing 2 hats. He's the head of the Hindustan Unilever, and he's the head of the South Asia Unilever. It's no coincidence that Unilever's entire philosophy there is how to go after these 1 billion people. The sachet strategy, pricing strategy, distribution strategy, mom and pop stores, their training program where every executive has to spend 3 to 4 months before they actually go on their real job in the rural area. They have a rural mindset. Their DNA is rural. Their DNA is 1 billion consumers. And ladies and gentlemen, even if they buy $1, $2, 2 rupees, 10 rupees from them, just count the number. It's not a coincidence they are into the chai business. Okay, so sell the chai to these people. It's not a coincidence they are in the soap business. Okay, but they also go the high end also, but it's 1 billion. So they have this mindset. They understand that. Next slide. Oh, go to the previous slide. The agriculture sector, previous slide again. 50% of workers in India and 70% of workers in Africa in the agriculture sector. So you cannot talk about developing countries without talking about bring the digital revolution in the agriculture sector. Be that be production, be that be distribution, be that be supply chain. So many of the examples that you're going to see in the book are actually really related to that. And major problem, how to deal with a crop when you have a disease. So that's a major story in my book also, that how do you help these people to actually become more productive? By the way, this is also the focus of some of the Tata Trust. So they're also going after this agriculture sector. Agriculture sector, you hope that ultimately they're not 50% workers in the agriculture sector. There is a productivity there. That's what happened in us in the US. And that also explained the urbanization. People started moving out to find opportunities. Here you have the people who, for example, come during the non-harvest time, they become Uber drivers, and during the harvest time, they go back to their villages. And after the harvest, that's when they have the money. So the whole marketing is around this harvest. So that's what the topic that I had dealt with in the Rise of Rural Consumers, that how the consumer markets in the rural areas is going to be so different in the agriculture sector. Next slide, please. This was actually the most insightful to me, the why I had changed, why I had become so stupid that my daughter was so intelligent that she figured out that these people don't have a toilet. This is the data that you see there, the GDP for all the various states in India. I live in Austin, Texas. So if you look at the bottom of this table, you'll see we are not a very big city. As you know, we have Houston, Dallas, Chicago, Atlanta, how many big cities. We call metropolitan area, which is when I was a student here, there were only 200,000 people here in Austin. But no, there's the towns around Austin. Our population is close to about 2 million, 2.2 million. And our GDP, total GDP is 160 million. There was a time when I had to actually go anywhere else in the US or outside. I used to fly Houston. So Houston now has about 7 million people. Their GDP is 455 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see in this table there is, and there are major policy implications from this table for whoever is doing the planning in India. What you noticed here is there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 states in India who have GDP greater than Austin. And we are a small town. Only 6 states. And Gujarat, which we talk as a model, Gujarat is only about 50% more than India. Okay, West Bengal just made it. Okay, the biggest state in India, Maharashtra, has an economy smaller than Houston, Texas. Policy implications. What do we do now? Challenge for each state. How can you beat Austin? Let's look at the trajectory of Austin. What did Austin do when I was a student versus where we are now? Okay, next slide. Oh, sorry, no, don't go there. And go to the previous slide. And I hate to talk about my own state. And I even 1990s made a presentation to the ministers there that let's look at the trajectory, how Israel grew over time, and let's look at the trajectory, how our economy used to be the same. Population was very similar. I gave up. Notice here is that how my mindset has to change, thanks to my daughter. The Jammu and Kashmir, GDP is 7 times less than Austin, Texas. Okay, population is 6 times more than Austin, Texas. So when I go to visit my siblings, this is where I go. Okay, this is a challenge. And so I was so happy that all the projects they're doing in Jammu and Kashmir, that is a challenge. And it's not lack of the smart people. They're very, very smart people there. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Same is the case with Africa, by the way. Among the 54 countries, what you see with the 54 countries there is there are only 4 countries whose economy is bigger than Austin, Texas. And my favorite country, Morocco, did not make it. So when I was traveling in Africa, I went to Morocco. I fell in love with that country. I came back, I said, oh my God, their economy is less than Austin, Texas. None of these countries, including Nigeria, with all the resources that they have, oil and all that, none of these countries have economy bigger than Houston, Texas. These are the countries now. These are not the states like in India. These are countries. So that's the exciting thing about these countries, meaning that there are many of them have economy is less than Austin, Texas. So there's a challenge. How do we grow? Okay, next slide, please. Here's the toilet. Major Saab, you mentioned about the toilet movie. Here's the toilet. But the reason that I have the toilet example there is that this is very interesting. This lady refuses to go to his house because she wants him to build a toilet. But when they were chasing each other, like the typical Bollywood movie, the boy chasing the girl and they say, go get lost. They were all doing that on smartphones. So he was taking the picture. So the entire communication was going on through the smartphones. So this is what I mean by navigating across centuries. And this is also very interesting. One hand, you have a poster of a toilet, and here is the Google goes to the toilet. When nature calls, use your phone. So Google has developed an app for all the tourists in India that when you're traveling there, you want to find a toilet, Google is here to help you. This is navigating across the centuries. Okay, next slide, please. Look at the mindset. You know, what a stupid person I had become. I used to talk about in my class what the Toto was doing. The last show that they had, the electronic show had that in Las Vegas, not this year, but 2021, the Toto actually presented a toilet, which is what they call the smart toilet. And when you're sitting on your throne, the toilet is using all the analysis. Okay, so it can tell you, it can do the stool test, urine test, and a whole bunch of other things. And on the other hand, the same year, Bill Gates showed up in the reInvent toilet in China, and he brought the glass of the poop to saying that 3-4 billion people on this planet do not have access to a toilet. So let's work on the toilet. By the way, at this stage, I also might point out that when I was dealing with the toilet problem at the ISP, by the way, I never told my students, anybody, that this is what I was doing there. Interesting thing is that India is the only country on this planet that has a toilet museum. And that's in Delhi. So if you have not visited the toilet museum, and if you want to see the world's old problem, how we solve this problem over time, go and visit the museum, and you'll be very happy that you did. The next slide, please. Then you probably may have also seen the same actor actually made a movie about the Padman. He was concerned about the hygiene. Interesting thing is that this is on the left-hand side is the real inventor. And I won't repeat the whole story, but what I want to tell you in the story there is that he had come up with his own ways of making these hygiene pads. But interesting enough, he was using Google to find out who the suppliers are in the United States. He was using Google to find out which technology he needed when all his technology, local technology, failed. So this is what I mean by we are solving 86% solution by using digital technology. So this man did it. He found out the suppliers, he found the designs, he found out the technology that he needed by Googling. And he's not even a very educated person. He was there just to solve the problem for his wife. I would urge you, if you have not seen that, this probably is on Netflix. And again, navigating across centuries, how the digital technologies are helping to solve the solutions. Next slide, please. Good news. This is a celebration time from India. Despite what I said that, the 5 states have economy bigger than Austin, Texas. Nobody has bigger than Houston. We are number one. When it comes to using the digital technologies, we are number one on Facebook. We are number one on WhatsApp. We are number one on Instagram. I mean, look at that, who we are and how we love these digital technologies. WhatsApp, you cannot live without WhatsApp. And by the way, this day arose during the COVID time because I was very curious what happened in the COVID time. Next slide, please. We are number one on Zoom. There were more downloads of the 18.2% download the day that I got the data, 18.2%, and more than United States, by the way. There were more downloads of Zoom in India than anywhere else on this planet. And our conversation, an example of that. So where we come from, navigating across centuries, but we love technology. So I commend our government. I commend our government for going after this vision. But let's solve the problems. 86% problem we still need to solve. Okay, next slide, please. I'm just going to give you one case study since the Major Sahib you mentioned about Kenya, and it's a very interesting story. I spent some time, about half a day or a day with the Uber in Nairobi. So it's a beautiful country, beautiful people. They, just like the Indians, they love technology. There is a very well-established Indian diaspora and doing extremely well. And they really made me so proud when I saw what they were doing. Here is an interesting thing about this Kenya, which is very much like India. Their population is around 54 million. Majority of their population, like the India, they live in a rural area, 70%. So we are around 65%. Young population, just like India, the majority. The GDP is very interesting, is less than Austin, Texas. Okay, their population again is at the 20 times more than Austin, Texas, and the GDP is only 70% of Austin, Texas. So imagine you want to have Uber there. How are you going to do Uber? Okay, so interesting thing there is, first of all, you have to think that a city like Nairobi, who's going to use Uber? Well, there's a United Nations, major presence of United Nations. East Africa, major organizations like Unilever and Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, they all have their offices there. There are universities. So Uber is an aspiration product that sometimes our middle-class families, whatever their definition is, that you'll find in the book itself that I have given there, once in a while they take it. But that's not interesting. Interesting is who's going to drive Uber. Here our students drive Uber. Here, I mean, I have even sat with the CFO of a museum. He was driving it so he could save some money to buy a house. These are all the people from the rural areas. Okay, rural areas, education. So I walked in the Uber office, there were actually 3 offices. First, they actually check out whether you'll be a good driver or not, can you get a driver's license, so on and so forth. Second office, they have to teach them about GPS. Okay, this is how we do technology. So they're teaching them about the technology. Number 3, all the transactions are done directly through the bank. No cash. So open a bank account, and you cannot come here, and they're giving them training, financial training. You cannot come without your spouse. So if you're a lady, come with your husband. If you're a husband, come with your wife. Still not interesting, because these guys still have to find a car. So there are people who actually, rich people who buy the car and they give them on daily basis. I'm sure same is happening in India. That drivers, they're also rural. And these rural drivers got sick. He said, we do all the hard work and somebody else takes the money. We don't like that. We want a car. Bank says you don't have a credit history. What are we going to do? And this really blew my mind. You cannot believe they decided that they are going to use Uber drivers' ratings as an indication of whether this person is a reliable person or not. Does he deserve the credit? So Uber ratings know, so all these drivers know, they became customer-oriented. Do every possible thing for the customer so they can give them good ratings. And good ratings of 4.9, 4 point, whatever number they had. Then I talked to the bank. I said, is the default rate more for these Uber drivers? He said, no. their default rate is as good as the default rate when we go to the rich people. So look at the entrepreneurship. Here, the digital technology came, and it could create, and many of these drivers, by the way, from the rural have become entrepreneurs. They own 2-3 cars. They brought their cousins. They brought their brothers. They brought their sisters. Not only that, handicapped people are driving this. Okay, the next slide, please. I think next we can skip because we're running out of time. I'm already 50 minutes late. This is also from Kenya. We can skip that. Go to the next slide. I'm going to skip many of these slides, but we're happy. This is what the Unilever did during the COVID time. And this is mom and pop stores are actually doing entire shopping actually by using mobile, the digital app that they have created. This is how far down the stream, because salesmen could not go. So what to do now? So you will read this story in the book. So they call it Shika. So go skip, please. Next. This was my favorite company. The previous one. This was my favorite company called India Mart. They did an IPO last year. And so they blew my mind. So I went to their office. There are two brothers, Agarwal brothers. When they started this company, nobody trusted them. There were hardly any internet. What they have done there is they have connected all the small farmers, the small merchants globally. So I asked them a very good question. I said, I come from Jammu. Next to Jammu is a small town called Samba. I said, we get a cheese they call Kaladi, which I understand sometimes Modi also likes that. I said, I want to buy Kaladi. Can you find me somebody? God behold, he looked at the word Kaladi, and there was a farmer in Samba, which is such a tiny town. And he said, this person is going to, here is the price, and this is how fast he can deliver. I mean, look at how far this digital revolution has gone down thanks to these entrepreneurs. I mean, all the way to a farmer in Samba who's making the Kaladi that none of you probably know. And because that's such a specialty for the Dogras in the Jammu province, and my father's favorite. Next slide, please. Let's skip that. This is in the book. People can see that. Next slide. This is a major disruption anywhere on this planet in the trucking industry. So imagine you have to ship a Kaladi from Samba to Bombay. Okay, so and if you don't have a choice of going through the plane, you'll ship it through the truck. So truck starts from the Samba, goes the driver drives all the way to Bombay. And many years ago, when I was at ISB, they used to say that this is how the aid was also spreading in India. The Gates Foundation did the studies. No, what happens there is he actually came up with the same system that Genghis Khan developed for the postal service, since we're talking about the Central Asia many centuries ago, where the horse will go for 15 miles, then he'll pass on the park to somebody else, then he goes for 15 miles. So the horse will remain in the whole territory, which is what they call relay. So he came up with the relay system, but it's all done the technology. So driver actually stays, every day he goes back home. He has the happiest drivers. Technology changed, how he had to change the shape of the truck. There are 35 or 40 tests that he does. I may be wrong with the numbers, where they are checking each truck's the air. Okay, so next slide, please. Yeah, here is the farmers, how far this has gone. So this person is checking the disease on his plant. He's a cotton grower. And he sent this message. The company actually has a database. They check it. They tell him this is the disease that you have. Then they tell, okay, go to such and such store. And that person tells you, yes, this is the disease that you have. This is what you need to do. Okay, go to the next slide, please. This story you all have heard about the education Bayou. And know the market has gotten very saturated. Some of them are having difficulty in raising even more money. And here is a guy, husband and wife. His wife has become one of the richest, the billionaires in India, young people from Kerala. He brags that he came from a government school. He's not from a private school. His English is not very good, but he's been blessed with he's a great talker. He's just memorizing everybody. And he's blessed with really taking the complicated things and making them very simple. So this story you probably already know. So my interview was a fascinating interview with this guy. The next slide, please. I'm going to skip this Facebook Fuel. This was their initiative they had started in 2020. And look at how down the stream they had gone. So they're helping villages to sell their product. This is lady from Kanpur. This is the guy who actually has started. He is helping the people in agriculture sector, tourism for the villages. You can see this is all in the book. You can read there also. Next slide, please. This is my last slide. After giving you so many examples of various sectors that I mentioned, there's a possibility that not everybody is going to participate in this revolution. Some people are going to be left behind. Okay, so this is what my last chapter said. Who are the people who are going to be left behind? Gender is an issue. People who don't have access to the infrastructure is an issue. If you're a small enterprise versus a medium size, are you going to be left behind in the digital revolution? The language is an issue. Okay, so not everybody speaks English. Are these people are going to develop the platforms only for the largest speaking languages like Tamil, Telugu? What happens to Northeast? What happens to people, the villages in Jammu who speak Dogri? The farmers who speak Dogri? So this is my laundry list, age, older, younger. So this is the last chapter I have given my wish list, that this is what we want to make sure. Somebody, I told me this is a digital inequity. I said, no, this is not inequity. This is a digital inclusion. We want to make sure that this, and this is not a complete list, by the way. And you also notice that in the end, I also have Indian diaspora. So I have my thoughts how we might be left behind by India. Okay, so maybe next time when you have your meeting in the North, whatever you do there, you may talk about that how digital technology should be used for the Indian diaspora. And you also showed a very interesting map where all these people live. Okay, but on the other hand, let me just not complain about this, because in the book, I also give an example for each issue that I have raised. I also have an interview with a company which is actually solving their problem. For example, the language. It's also very interesting that our complexion across the country is very different. Northerns looks very different from the Southerns, and Southern looks very different from the Easterns, and Eastern looks very different from the Westerns. So same cosmetics cannot be sold to all the women or men. So there is a company, and that's the value proposition. That the foreigners won't understand us. Okay, so you will see that also in the book. So I do actually give an example. I did seek out the companies who actually are solving this point. Last slide, please. So this slide is the government's vision, power to empower, digital India, and I stole it, shamefully. With a thanks to them, and thanks to everybody who had helped me with this book. There are many, many people who helped me, entrepreneurs, my publishers, research assistants, writers. So I'm sorry I took about 25 minutes more than I should have taken. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Saab. It's right from the heart. It's right from the soul. It's right from the spirit. The way you have connected us with the digital leapfrogs, all the chapters I have gone through. And while I was going through this particular book, I found it is something which is happening. It is happening in our life. It's happening in our day-to-day life. And this is an integral part of the entire deliberation, which, it's so scintillating. We wish you all the best, and we are really, really indebted. And ladies and gentlemen, here is my copy, The Digital Leapfrogs, when I talk about each one of you, wherever you are. And you'll find this video also on the YouTube. And as it would reach a large population across the globe, more and more people will come to know what Professor Saab has spoken right from his heart. As a part of these 75-year celebrations, and particularly when we are talking about India has to do something up to 2047 as well, we would make a humble request to Professor Vijay Mahajanji. Next 25 years are very important for India. When we celebrate 100 years, our chamber is working in the direction for three projects. One is how the tourism would look like by that time, how the education would look like by that time, and where the technology and the skills would be because some of the skills and some of the jobs and some of the works are not existing even today. What exactly we are getting in our academics, in our schools, colleges, universities, institutions. There's a great task we would like to do with you. And from the chamber, in a very humble way, in a very polite way, the slide which you had shown of your father, and where you had shown he's standing over there, and that particular where on the top the family used to stay, I would like to take you to your memory line. And let's move on somewhere to Jammu and Kashmir. And I take you to Jammu and I take you to that particular arena. And let me share something right over here with you. I'm pretty sure you would enjoy. Here is a young boy who is on the YouTube, Sumit Khajuria. And his song has been even endorsed by Amitabh Bachchan ji, and the kind of likes which he is getting. And he is day and night working in the direction how the folk songs, because the culture, the heritage, and the values which you carry, because today when you told 13 years, 14 years, your initial life, let's move on. I would like to take you to Jammu, all the way over there, and one sthai, one antara. Due to the paucity of time, I'm not going to play whole thing for you, but this is what our chamber will dedicate to you. International Chamber for Service Industry, with the heart and the soul and the vision, taking each one of you to Jammu, to Dogras, and to Jammu Tawi.
शान मित्रो ये सारे डोगरे दी आन मित्रो तभी मेरे जम्मू दिए शान मित्रो ये सारे डोगरे दी आन मित्रो एदे कंडे जम्मू एदा शहर बसदा साड़ी बस तभी के पण शान मित्रो तभी मेरे जम्मू दिए शान मित्रो ये सारे डोगरे दी आन मित्रो सब्बे जान दे नदिये चा नदिये महान मित्रो सूरज दी पुत्री हो वांदी साड़ी तो पीरे ते फकीरे दिता मान मित्रो पीरे ते फकीरे दिता मान मित्रो तभी मेरे जम्मू शान मित्रो ये सारे डोगरे दी आन मित्रो तभी दा जल पीने सारे का पता सा मगर सा तभी दा जल पींदे बखरू पखेरू भी मानूए दी जिंद भी ते जान मित्रो तभी कन्ने रूप तेने खार जम्मू दा तभी दी आन वान शान मित्रो तभी दी आन वान शान मित्रो
I am not taking the entire song. I just wanted to give you the glimpses that you get an idea. this evening is as a mark of respect, as a mark of love, emotions. We wanted to take you back to your own soil. And on 15th of August, because our chamber is working in the direction how Indian educators, teachers, counselors, technocrats, everybody working in the direction to make India once again Vishwa Guru Bharat on 15th of August, when we celebrate the 75 years भारत के, उस दिन हम विश्व गुरु भारत का एक सॉन्ग चेंबर की तरफ से देने जा रहे हैं. I would request you that let's work together. Let's move the entire vision together. And as a soldier, rest of the life, I have already decided, and we would love to do a lot. And it has taken, I'm telling you, seriously, it has taken quite some time for me to reach you, because it's finally, I never knew that I'll land through Professor Jagdish and Seth sir, through him to you. I could not get your contact. I found out about your family, everybody, your Chachaji is and all that. And we were so very keen that you have done so much. I was mesmerized after reading your Africa Rising book, because I realized there's something which you are touching, because Africa is future. And that is the area which we all have to see. And Professor Seth Saab also keep telling that 2050 onwards, we got to look towards that direction as well. So your journey, Professor Vijay Mahajanji, your linkages with the Central Asia also, I never knew that something very scintillating, Professor Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji also over here today. I'm sorry we couldn't get Abe Sinha because of his delay in the flights and all that. And Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji also worked very hard to display all the slides. Ladies and gentlemen, our chamber strongly recommends that the digital leapfrogs you must go through. You will find it is something which is happening with you. It's happening around you. It's happening with family. It's happening in your neighborhood. It's happening in your civilization, and it's happening in your country and your continent. That's what I have felt. And I do not want to tell much about it at this stage, but as a good soldier, you can see the yellow prints, each and every line between the lines I have read. And that is like a good student, I have taken it. So, sir, thank you very much, Professor Vijay Mahajanji. Thank you very much for coming this morning, this afternoon, this evening, for the people wherever they are world over, joining us all the way from the Texas. And I would request Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajanji now to propose the formal vote of thanks for both of you, Professor Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji and the star of the evening, Professor Vijay Mahajanji.
Thank you, Professor Sharma. I mean, Sarvesham Suswagatah, because this is in Sanskrit, because of the Sanskrit Divas. And you rightly said, this is the Gayatri Jayanti. Gayatri is all about awakening the inner strength. So this is a very powerful message. Let us all pray for that. With that, sir, it was such a scintillating discussion. First of all, thank you, Chaturvedi ji, Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji, to talk about the beautiful country and kind of creating the interest in entrepreneurship. What do I say to a senior scholar in my own field of marketing, like Professor Vijay Mahajan, and then we also had our Bhishma Pitamaha, Professor Jagdish Seth, to bless us today with his opening remarks. So I was just reflecting on the couple of keywords. One is the word called leapfrog. In a way, any pioneer who has come, and Dr. Mahajan was telling me about how there were only few people in marketing. And I know today the field of marketing has a lot of folks of scholars of Indian origin, but their pioneers are people like Dr. Seth and Dr. Mahajan. And in a way, they are the leapfrogs. They leapt because of education. And he was talking about the role his mother played. And I've read his essay, how his mother inspired him through the Bhagavad Gita. It's very, very fascinating. But what was compelling in is, as much as they've all gone into a next phase through technology and raising to the upper echelons of education, they have not forgotten their roots. The pride that I saw in his eyes when he listened to the song, that was very evident, and the pride when he showed his father's shop, and the pride as a parent. I mean, so that is so humane, sir. I mean, I think that's why you have to be a good human being to be a good marketer, and I think that was very exemplified in the scholarly plus interesting presentation by Dr. Mahajan. So two things, sir. You mentioned about digital inclusion for NRIs and persons of Indian origin, and Dr. Sharma ji, he himself is a leapfrog. When the pandemic hit, he has taken this as a challenge, and he has been doing a webinar a day, like an apple a day. A webinar a day was keeping him up. We were COVID at bay. That was his mantra. And I was also a small soldier in that army. And big thing was NRIs. We were bringing them every Sunday. So in some sense, we have already made efforts, sir, in the direction you have already suggested. And in that spirit, I think we need to do more. And as I said, the main thing is we are putting the seeds for the next generation. In 3 days, we'll be celebrating the 75th anniversary. The 75 is a very special thing, even in the Indian tradition. 75 is it's almost coming of age. And so for the next 25, when we go approach the India's centenary, of course, we are an ancient civilization, but a young country at heart. How do we provide vision for the next generation? Like you were talking about the relay race. How do we pass the baton on? And the message was so forthcoming. I'm sure we will leapfrog, but with our roots intact. I think that is the message that came out of today's presentation. Thank you all. I mean, thanks is a small word, sir. You're all giving so much generosity. But at the end of the day, I think we are all giving it for the greater cause of Ma Bharati. So with that, thank you so much. I want to wish you all a happy Independence Day in advance, and have a great rest of the week ahead. Jai Hind, Vande Matram, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhagavad. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Vijay Mahajan ji. Thank you very much, Professor Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji. And thanks a lot, my buddy, Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji. We are indebted to all the listeners and all the viewers wherever they are world over. And ISB Hyderabad, that goes something very scintillating, because my daughter is working with ISB Mohali at this point of time. And I was just trying to recollect. I had also gone to give a talk over there. What an institution and what an aura you have collected. And our blessings to your daughter. What she gave as an input for 3 things: ISB toilets, ISB food eating places, and your library, the digital library part. Blessings to her as well. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming. So ladies and gentlemen, world over, green morning, green afternoon, and green evening. Stay fit, stay fine. We all meet at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening again, yet with 2 more powerful people from Canada. Namaskar, Jai Hind, Shubh Ratri, Bharat mein, Shubh Din, अमेरिका में, और खासकर हमारे सभी भाई जो आज की दोपहर यूनाइटेड किंगडम से भी जुड़ रहे हैं, जर्मनी से कुछ लोगों का भी फोन आया, तो आप सबको भी बहुत बहुत। और प्रोफेसर चतुर्वेदी जी, आपके यहाँ से अपने शिल्पी मोहन जी जुड़ रही